Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bronx Music Heritage Center. I'm Elena Martinez, and I'm one of the artistic directors here, along with Bobby and Sanabria. We both run the BMHC. Right now, everything's online, and I hope you've been following us. We have a lot of great programs. Tonight, we have a special program, sort of not one of our regular series. We are doing a special presentation based on a program we did this past summer about the healing and resistance through the Black Madonna through art. And we did this great program with the New York Public Library's Culture Pass program, and we're going to show that we're going to re-show that program later tonight. But first, as sort of like an extra special part of that show, we're going to have a special presentation that goes along with that same theme. Because today we're celebrating the Dia de Guadalupe, the feast day of the Virgin of Guadalupe. So, in honor of her, we're gonna have a special artist to talk a little bit about Guadalupe and her indigenous origins and their relationship to art and her relationship to art. So, first though, a couple things. I gotta thank all our funders. The Bronx Music Heritage Center programming is supported in part by the National Endowment of the Arts, the New York State Council on the Arts with support of Governor Andrew Cuomo and the New York State Legislature, public funds from the New York State Department of Cultural Affairs in partnership with the City Council, the Lily Auchincloss Foundation, and the Laurie N. Tisch Illumination Fund. So tonight we are going to look to add to our sort of programs that we did in the summer, more information about what some people call the Black Madonna. So the Black Madonna, there are statues all over Europe of these Madonna figures in different churches and in different little chapels and pilgrimage sites devoted to a Black Virgin, a statue of a Black Madonna. This figure has become, while it is a religious figure, she's also become a sort of a symbol for many people and many women also to influence and inspire in them in different arts, whether it's music, painting, poetry. So we presented some artists this past summer. So, but tonight we're going to hear a little bit about Our Lady of Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe. Now, what's really interesting is that most of us are familiar with Our Lady of Guadalupe from Mexico, the patron saint of Mexico. But actually, there actually is Our Lady of Guadalupe in Spain as well. There's actually three Black Madonnas in Spain, and Our Lady of Guadalupe in Extremadura is one of them. And she came about, she was appeared to a shepherd on a hill. Sound familiar? In the 14th century. And she has become really, she was really actually popular during the Age of Conquest. A lot of that, unfortunately, that era, there were a lot of people prayed to her, but her image is still there, and she still is one of these Black Madonna figures that can be found in Iberian Peninsula. Now, and interestingly enough, we are going to look at the Lady of Guadalupe from Mexico today, which doesn't really have a connection to these Black Madonnas that are found all over Europe. But the Lady of Guadalupe has some similarities to her. She was found by a humble workman, Juan Diego, on a hill, or she appeared to him in Tepeyac in Mexico. And of course, and then a church was built to her, and we're going to hear more about her story today. But she, like the Black Madonnas of Europe, has become a figure of resistance for people and an inspiration, because she represents something different, other perspectives of looking at the way people worship, the way people look at Christianity, and the indigenous beliefs that were there beforehand, because the Guadalupe of Mexico has a lot of connections to not just the Catholic Church, but to the indigenous beliefs that were there beforehand. And we're going to hear about that tonight. And we have to talk about that whole story with us is the artist Nadima Agard. She is of Cherokee, Lakota, and Powhatan. From those nations, she is a visual artist and illustrator, curator, educator, lecturer, storyteller, poet, published author, museum professional, and indigenous rights activist. And she is also currently the director of the Red Earth Studio Consulting. And what's even greater, she was raised in the Bronx and grew up in the Bronx. So we're so glad to claim another great artist from the Bronx. So
my grandmother's family grew up were Bronxites. You know, I have Bronx roots.
Okay, that's great. We all have all great connections to the Bronx. So we are so pleased to welcome with us today Nadima Agard.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to talk to you today and also demonstrate my artwork My art is going to be shown as examples of the kind of influence that has happened to my work. So, as indigenous peoples of Native America, we recognize that nature as well as spirit is imbued with divinity, often manifested through the forces of nature and the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. The ocean and the earth are preeminently associated with the feminine divine, being feminine elements, and for Amerindians or indigenous Americans, the divine feminine is most preeminently the Earth Mother Goddess, who incorporates both male and female aspects. Now, this piece that is going to be shown is called Earth Mother and Her Children of the Four Directions. Based on Native American scholarship, particularly of Southeastern Native and Mesoamerican iconography, my art is influenced by our indigenous teachings of healing, balance, and a spirituality that is centered and permeated in our earth-based cultures. It is also influenced by the indigenous views that art has no separation from the interconnection of all things in a tribal society, and that the balance between feminine elements and energies with masculine elements and energies produce a state of well-being. As an indigenous woman of Native America from three distinct tribal nations, Cherokee, Lakota, and Powhatan, I am a natural border crosser who seeks syncretism and wholeness. It is part of my genetic memory and disposition. As an artist and scholar, I create work as a vehicle for the divine feminine, not because I choose this work, but because I have been chosen to do it. It is through my work as a writer, scholar, poet, and visual artist that I introduce the divine feminine in Native America. The divine feminine in Native America is one essence but many attributes. She is called Tonantzin, Inantzin, Eagle Woman, Coyoshauqui of the Aztecs, Grandmother Moon, Nokomis, Star Maiden, and Daybreak Star Woman of the Ojibwe, Hina, Pele, Wiiaka of the Hawaiians, Corn Mother, Selu, and Deer Woman of the Cherokee, Spider Grandmother, Thought Woman, Corn Maiden, and Corn Mother of the Pueblo, Spider Woman, White Shell Woman, and Changing Woman of the Dene, White Buffalo Calf Woman, Double Woman, and the Morning Star of the Lakota, Sky Woman of the Haudenosaunee, Atavera or La Caguana of the Taino, Copper Woman of the Nootka of Alaska, and Yucatecane of the Maya, Pachamama of the Andes, and Nine Grass of the Mixtecs from Mexico, to name a few. You will meet one of these monumental mothers who continues to exist as our great role model, and in some cases have taught our Native women that we have a higher status than men. I'm going to introduce you to Tonantzin, Inantzin, Eagle Woman, but you know her as the Virgin of Guadalupe. On December 9th, 1531, the Mother of God, or gods, named Tonantzin or Inantzin, also called Eagle Woman, appeared on Mount Tepeyac. On your screen, you should see a traditional image of her. Mount Tepeyac, which Elena mentioned, where she had been venerated from time immemorial. Her apparition amidst chirping birds, fragrant flora, and glittering terrain was first seen by Juan Diego, an indigenous man and a recent Catholic convert who was someone rather special in that he came from Cuautitlan, place of the eagles. As documented in the Nicamapoa, she spoke to him in the Nahuatl language of the Aztecs and said, "Am I not here, your mother? Are you not under my shadow and my protection? Am I not your source of life?"
Pana, Inkenin Yanquika, Wetlamau Sotika, Moneshiti, Sequiska, Pochli, Santa Maria Diosi Nancy, Tosiwa Pilatso Kansi, Unkante Beyaka, Botenewa Guadalupe, Akatopa, Kimo Zinzinsino, Say my WhatsApp simply, Itoka Juan Diego.
Okay. So as proof of her divinity, Juan Diego presented roses to the Catholic bishop and requested on her behalf that a church be built on Mount Tepeyac. When the roses fell from Juan Diego's tilma, the icon of her apparition was miraculously imprinted upon this garment that has since survived almost 500 years. Although this icon of Tonantzin was later named after the Virgin of Guadalupe from Estremadura, Spain, by the way, birthplace of Cortez, she is an Aztec codex with much layered meaning. So you see her traditional icon in front of you. And I want you to look at it and study it because it's very rich. In literal terms, the image can be described as a young indigenous woman standing on a crescent moon with the sun behind her, supported by an angel. Her head is bowed with hands in prayer. She has a ribbon or cinta that indicates she is pregnant and is wearing a rose-colored dress with patterns that symbolize 9 volcanoes. So if you look at the print of the dress, you can see like there are volcanoes represented. She is wrapped in a mantle that is covered with the constellation of stars that actually appeared in the sky the night of her appearance. Because she appeared at the center of the Western Hemisphere, this is a recording of sacred time and space. Now, the next image is the constellation of the Guadalupe front and back. When upside down, the mandorla-shaped icon is also phallic and represents the male divinity Quetzalcoatl of the Aztecs, also known as Culculcan of the Maya. He is a feathered serpent, a fusion of eagle and serpent, and a metaphor for the spiritual and material nature of humanity. In 2001, can you believe it's over almost 20 years ago, I organized a Native Arts Symposium, Crossing Spiritual Borders, Mapping Indigenous Boundaries, Exploring the Cultural Context of the Sacred Feminine Iconography and Women's Art, and was guest curator for an exhibition, Who is the Virgin of Guadalupe? Women Artists Crossing Borders. These events were both vehicles and catalysts for thought and discussion about crossing borders that are spiritual and mapping boundaries that are indigenous. It was also a way of presenting this American goddess as a manifestation of a global, spiritual, feminine presence. In response to the question, who is the Virgin of Guadalupe? I wrote the following artist curator statement because my work was also in the show. She is the cosmic symbol of heaven and earth, the earth mother of divine wisdom and knowledge. She is the indigenous Madonna, Aztec codex, and sister goddess to all the feminine divine manifestations. She is the daughter of Grandmother Moon. Her colors are the women's colors, representing the fertile red earth and verdant growth of the Garden of Eden. She is merciful and compassionate bounty. She is graceful and generous beauty. She represents the feminine sacred mandorla or yoni, the giver of life and healer of fears. She is the mother of the Son of Truth and all divinity. She is described in the revelations of St. John the Divine and is represented in the drawings of Sister Hildegard of Bingham. Her star-covered mantle represents the Virgo supercluster that holds within her the Milky Way galaxy and our solar systems. Her mantles have constellations of morning stars associated with Venus. She is the most sacred rose planted in the heart garden of humanity. Now, the next piece is the Aztec Virgin Mother. It's a special retablo. It's got 5 sections. For this exhibition, I created a devotional piece or retablo entitled Aztec Virgin Mother. This work explores the multifaceted side of this Native American goddess of healing known as Tonantzin Virgin of Guadalupe from an indigenous perspective that is both specific and hemispheric. In this 4-directional cross that transforms into a cube, I represent her 4 aspects symbolized by a jaguar, butterfly, rattlesnake, and hummingbird. Her jaguar aspect, the mammal, is a testimony to the fierce warrior spirit and sexual prowess of the goddess with the magical and mysterious transmission of power. Her butterfly aspect, the insect, represents the gentle transformational character of the goddess manifested in the biological world and is a metaphor for the evolution from the cocoon state of consciousness to the spiritual liberation of acceptance. The butterfly balances the fierce jaguar side. Her rattlesnake aspect, the reptile, is the undulating terrestrial rhythm of the diamondback rattlesnake that attests to the birth, death power of the goddess with the earth as a giver of life and cradle of death, while her hummingbird, the bird, is the offspring of the goddess, the sun consort of the classic goddess mythology. The hummingbird balances the celestial aspect with that of the terrestrial rattlesnake. The center is the birth of Flora from the yoni of the Mother Earth. The rose-colored flower symbolizes another dimension as it is a doorway to and from the eternal source. Each aspect of the goddess represents the teachings for humanity of our complex nature by respecting the differences and coming into acceptance and wholeness. For this retablo, I wrote a poem, but I really don't have time to share it. I believe mysticism and science are secret lovers because of a March 2005 article in Natural History magazine entitled Social Lives of Rattlesnakes. It describes female rattlesnakes giving birth in late August, their recognition of other female siblings, and their probable matrilineal nature. These facts are in keeping with our indigenous teachings about the rattlesnake, for it has an association with the Guadalupe Tonantzin, her icon being the Virgo supercluster. Late August is under the constellation of Virgo, and for indigenous people, the female is also the life giver who recognizes and determines kinship. In the end, I must say that Lupe is my great muse, and it is in Guad I trust. She has always been with me. I met her in the writings of Eduardo Galeano, noticed her during a conference in Orcas Islands on a pamphlet that opened to her image. I saw her on a votive candle at the Women's Caucus for the Arts Conference in Seattle, and even in the bedroom of my aunt on the Standing Rock Sioux Reservation in North Dakota. I visited her Mexican church in St. Paul and saw her under the glass tabletops of northern Minnesota. She even guided me with help of some Mesoamerican brothers to visit Mexico for the phenomenon of dark and light. It was near the pyramid of Chichen Itza in Merida where I picked up the star map of her constellation. It was then my journey took me deep into the heart of the great Mother Earth goddess Tonantzin, and I returned to her heart when a few years later a friend mentioned she was going to Mexico City for a women's conference. I told her the only reason I would go there was to see the Guadalupe. Shortly after our conversation, she called back and to tell me that the Virgin really wanted me to go because the slot had opened up for me to receive a free ticket. The ticket holder, an elder, had passed away. So I made the pilgrimage to her shrine on Mount Tepeyac at the center of the Americas that Carlos Santana describes during his Sacred Fire Contest as the heart of Mexico. The following is a poem. It's called Lupe. It's based on a piece of art that I did called Lupe in the Sky with Diamonds. Uh, I don't know. I have that piece should be the following piece should be this artwork. It's sort of a yoni shaped oval piece. Lupe in the Sky with Diamonds. He said Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, but I say Lupe in the Sky with Diamonds. Who said mysticism is not a drug? Aren't stars the most awesome bling bling? From a global perspective, the goddess is a mystical garden with a relational archetype that blooms simultaneously to create a universal syncretism of a profound nature. Or in the words of my Lakota people, everything is alive and everything is connected. Tonantzin Guadalupe is that garden. As has been noted, Tonantzin is Inantzin, with Ina, the Lakota word for mother, at its root. Ina sounds like Hina, the Hawaiian goddess of the moon, and the name of Hina, the Mixtec goddess of the sweat. The next is a drawing that I did called Our Lady of Guadalacota. There are so many parallels between Tonantzin Guadalupe and Ptehin Skalawa Kanwi, the Lakota white buffalo calf maiden. Some of us believe she is the same being. White buffalo calf maiden is the daughter of the sun and the moon and is also symbolized in the icon of Guadalupe, and they both appear to humanity with spiritual instructions. The flower most associated with Tonantzin is the rose, a symbol of the female genitalia, while it is the rose geranium and the rose quartz that's associated with the calf maiden. White buffalo calf maiden appeared at the center of North America, while Tonantzin Guadalupe appeared at the center of the Western Hemisphere. The morning star, Venus, Quetzalcoatl, and Ninewind, both Aztec gods, are connected with eagle and serpent, as is Eagle Woman, the Aztec Virgin Mother, whose rattlesnake aspect inspires the diamond designs of Native America, called medicine man eyes by the Cherokee and God's eye weaving by the Huichol, an indigenous people of Nayarit province in Mexico. So the next image should be a traditional yarn Huichol God's eye made with yarn. And I hope that you can, I'm not going too fast, but the hummingbird associated with Tonantzin Guadalupe is also sacred to the Cherokee. The butterfly aspect of the Aztec Virgin Mother is also associated with the Pueblo Corn Maiden. The jaguar, who is another aspect of the Virgin, is seen in the cosmic regalia of Coyoshauqui, the moon goddess of the Aztecs. The volcanoes on Tonantzin's rose-colored dress relate to the volcano goddess of Hawaii, named Pele. The red and green colors of Tonantzin's icon, with rose, a red derivative, are the women's colors of the Ojibwe and Algonquin people of the Great Lakes. The color of Christmas are really the colors of Mother Earth in her garden aspect, the colors of maternity, hence the color of birth. Example, the nativity. The tree, a most important icon of Mesoamerica, a symbol associated with the divine feminine, is at the center of the Lakota sun dance as the central pillar and support of the firmament. This reminds me of the words of Tonant Guadalupe, "Are you not under my shadow and my protection?" Sweetgrass, cedar, and sage are sacred plants associated with the divine feminine in Native America. Sweetgrass is called Earth Mother's hair and is braided. Along with the other two sacred plants, it is burned as an incense for protection and healing. And again, the words of Tonantzin Guadalupe echo, "Are you not under my shadow and my protection?" The next image is called The Virgin of Guadalupe is the Corn Mother. This is my work. It's about 3.5 inches wide, feet wide, and about 5 feet long. The Onansing Guadalupe icon incorporates both male and female aspects, so does corn. This is an example of pure flor y canto, the understanding that you must see the whole in order to understand the parts, that masculine defines feminine and feminine defines masculine. Donancin Guadalupe is corn mother. She is female in her husk aspect and male as a cob.
Excuse
Just
me.
like Donancin Guadalupe and Quetzalcoatl, it depends on your point of view. The great Earth Mother Goddess inspires reflections on the scientific evidence that male chromosomes XY contain female, even though female chromosomes XX do not contain male, and how creation started with the feminine.
Excuse me, Nadima, I think we ran out of the slide, but also we have a minute or two, just under 2 minutes before we go, the
Okay,
video starts. So, I wanted to,
this is the end of my talk.
okay.
Okay, this is the end. It is not Donancin Guadalupe, the mother of all, mother of gods. Perfect timing.
So, well, thank you, Nadima, for that. Actually, I'm sorry, I interrupted your last sentence. I wasn't sure, I ran out of slides, but thank you so much for that. And everyone, please stay on. We are going to show the video from this summer, the NYPL Culture Pass program that we sponsored with them. And you'll get to see more about how the imagery of the Dark Madonna, her many guises, influences music and art of different women artists that we have worked with many times and who are now all over the United States: Raquel Zivivera, Tanya Torres, Maria Terrero, and Alessandra Belloni. And you'll get to see them in a moment. But in the meantime, what we'll do is, if you do have any questions for Nadima, put them in the Facebook thread. And we'll make sure they get to Nadima. Nadima can answer them on the thread, or we'll make sure she gets them. So if you do have any questions about anything she talked about today, we can sort of like follow up with that. And once again, I want to thank Nadima for an incredible presentation. To learn more about Guadalupe today on her feast day, the Guadalupe feast day. I want to thank Jorge, thank you for all the technical work making this possible for us. And I think yeah, we'll see everyone back on the Facebook page in a minute or two, about a minute. You might need to refresh your page, but you can go on and the video will start in about a minute. So thank you so much, and thank you, Nadima.
You're very welcome.